In this lecture, we are going to talk about Remix. Remix is an online integrated development environment, or IDE, created by the Ethereum Foundation, and it is used for programming, debugging, and deployment of the Ethereum smart contracts. We can access the Remix editor online at https://remix.ethereum.org. Remix is a web application that has its own Solidity compiler and is used to generate the bytecode needed to deploy an Ethereum smart contract. And the ABI, the abstract binary interface, used to communicate with that smart contract using a web application and the JavaScript library named Web3. Now let's see the Remix interface. When we first open the Remix editor, it shows us a sample smart contract. We can delete this sample. This is just an example. So I delete this sample smart contract and I will write my own simple smart contract. So Pragma Solidity, and the version of the compiler I am using 0.4.24, and now contract, simple contract, curly braces, and now I declare a state variable, a public state variable, let's say simple age, and a function, a setter function named setAge. Now I modify my state variable with the value of underline age function argument. So age equals underline age. Okay, this is a very simple smart contract that has only one state variable and a function. Okay, if I want to compile this contract, I can press here on Start Compile. If there is an error, and we have an error, this is on purpose, Solidity will mark the line that contains that error. So here is a typo, is Pragma Solidity. I try to compile the contract one more time and we have no error. Solidity can also compile a contract as we type it. For that, we must press here on autocompile. If we don't press on autocompile, and for example, I write here, I create another state variable. Let's say string public description. If I want to compile the new version of the contract, I must press here on Start Compile. And the contract has been compiled. Another possibility is to press this checkbox, the autocompile checkbox, and the Remix editor will compile my contract as I type it. For example, if I create another state variable of type integer, let's say int public a, my contract is already compiled. Of course, if there is an error, it displays that error as I type. This is a very interesting feature. Then, if I want to deploy the contract, I go on this tab, on Run tab, and here I have three possibilities. The JavaScript virtual machine is in fact an in-memory Ethereum blockchain. So the Ethereum blockchain, a very simple version of the Ethereum blockchain, is in the memory. This is used for testing. We don't need to deploy a contract like this on the main Ethereum blockchain or on the ring-b-test Ethereum blockchain. So this is JavaScript virtual machine. This is for testing. Here we have some accounts. We can use them to send Ether or to test different features of our smart contracts and so on. This is the gas limit we use. And here is the value of Ether we sent with a transaction. We'll test all these things in future examples. And now I can deploy my contract. I just press deploy here and my contract has been deployed. Here in this window, we see details about the transaction we have created. I can see the status of the transaction, transaction mined and execution succeed. I can see the transaction hash or transaction ID. I can copy this value to clipboard and look for this transaction on Etherscan. I can see the address of my new contract. I can see who has deployed the contract. This is an account from this list. We can see that this account doesn't have 100 Ether because he spent some Ether as gas. We see the gas we used and the transaction cost and so on. If I press on this button here, I clear this area. Okay, in the compile tab, I can press on details and I can see some important things. For example, this is the bytecode. This is the bytecode that is deployed on the Ethereum blockchain. This is what is deployed on the Ethereum blockchain. This is the ABI, the Abstract Binary Interface. This is the interface we use to interact with our smart contract. I can copy this value to clipboard and I can see what it contains. This is the ABI that other applications need in order to interact with my contract. Here I have a plus and a minus sign. If I want to have a bigger font or a smaller font. If I don't have enough space here, I can press on this button here and this part of the window collapses. The same is valid for the right side of the Remix editor. And here is the debugger. The debugger is an advanced feature of the Remix editor. If we want to execute this contract step by step to see at every step the values of every variable and so on. This is very important for complex contracts where things are not very easily understandable. If I modify something in my contract, for example, I don't want to have this variable named A, I want a variable named B. I must deploy the new contract one more time because a deployment of a contract, an instance, is like an object in the object-oriented programming paradigm. My new modified contract is the last contract I've deployed. If I don't deploy the modified contract, nothing happens. Here is my first deployment with A, and here is my second deployment with B variable. I can delete all these deployments from here to have more space. And of course, I'll show you in another lecture how can we deploy a contract using Remix and MetaMask on Ring-B, test network, or on the Ethereum main network. We can connect this instance of Remix to our GitHub account in order to commit changes we made and to commit new files into our GitHub account. And also we can open files from our hard disk, local files. Or I can create a new file pressing on this plus sign. For example, I create a file, new contract. And here I see all my contracts I have created. In our course, we'll use a lot the Remix editor.